Hello, welcome to another Black Horizons program. I'm your host, Hamid Rasheed. Each day of the week, hundreds of youngsters in the north end of Halifax practice the art of self-defense at the Citadel Amateur Boxing Club on Gottingen Street. In today's program, we'll talk about the program at the Citadel Club and its impact on the youngsters involved. I have joining me on the program as our guest today, Downey Jr., a resident of Halifax and a former Canadian amateur welterweight champion. Downey is currently the coordinator of the Gottingen Street branch of the Citadel Amateur Boxing Club. Don, welcome to the Black Horizons program.
Pleasure and honor.
Before I begin talking to you about your work at the Citadel Club, what does the future hold, if anything, for you in the way of the fight game? Are you retired now, or are you still pursuing the art of boxing?
No, I'm retired as a professional. I'm putting on my strength and endeavors into the amateur circles.
Right. How long now has it been since you've been working with the program at the Citadel Club?
As a volunteer, I've been working for the last 4 years. As a paid coach for the last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Citadel Club, the boxing club, I was surprised when I was talking to you earlier to learn that it has two branches. Is that correct? One on Gottingen, and where's the other one located?
At the National Boxing Trainer located at Bloomfield School.
I see. And what takes place at the National Center?
Well, that's when the Canadian teams are getting ready. Recently, we have the Canadian team getting ready for the Pan Am Games.
Yes.
And the big national games, such as the Pan Am Games, the Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, there are two centers, one in the western part of Canada and one in the eastern part of Canada, which is located in Halifax. This is where the training is taking place at the national scene.
Right. Is the preponderance of fighters from the Halifax, Dartmouth area, is that why the center is located in Halifax, Dartmouth, do you think? Or what's the reasoning behind the center being located in Halifax?
At one time, my own personal feelings that at one time, the eastern part of Canada had quite a few fighters on the Canadian team. Ricky Anderson, Chris Clark, myself, Calvin Lawrence. I think that was their choice of the reason why it was located right in Halifax there, not in maybe, let's say, Quebec, or because I think at one time the Atlantic province had the biggest constituent going to the international games.
Yeah, Halifax is kind of considered the mecca of boxing, though, too, isn't it, in the country?
Yes.
And the coaching here, I understand some of the top caliber coaches are also located in this area.
Yes, for the last, I've been fighting amateur almost 10 years, and I think 7 of them years has been under Taylor Gordon. He has been a national coach for the last 6 years, and that's another good reason why it is located here, because he's the national coach, has been for the last 6 or 7 years, and his track record speaks for itself.
Right. Well, I understand that you're going to be getting quite deeply involved in the coaching program over and above the work that you're doing now at the Citadel Club. I understand that you're going to be going away perhaps very soon for some training.
Yes, I'm going under the guardianship of Taylor Gordon, hopefully as an apprenticeship coach, which will be for 2 years. That the government is training me to become a coach under the apprenticeship of the national coach. That means after the 2 years of studying college preparation and psychology and things like that, that I'll be able to maybe become a national coach if I pass the courses that are rendered.
Right. Now, this program, will you have to leave Halifax to do that, or will you actually do the work under Taylor Gordon or somebody else right here in Metro?
Right here in Metro, hopefully.
I see. How do you feel that your background is a amateur fighter? You had quite an extensive amateur career. How do you feel that's assisted you in the work that you're doing at the Citadel Club?
Quite nice, really. As I think about it, my amateur boxing has helped me do a lot of things. Helped me to see the world, helped me in my education of getting scholarships, have grown me up a lot in other particular fields. It matured an individual. I think that sports in general, and especially amateur boxing, you tend to have a different perspective of yourself and of people when you get to see other places and meet other people.
Right. What about the technical aspect of it? Is it an advantage as a coach to have been a fighter?
Yes. That's quite a nice question. I believe that one has to experience the highlights and the pitfalls to be able to know what another individual is feeling at particular times. I don't think that I could sit here and tell you about your job if I haven't experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I could give you my views and opinions, but I haven't experienced it. I really don't know. It's like being in a corner and seeing a fighter down on his knees. If you don't know that individual, or if you haven't been there yourself on your knees at a fight, or when you were fighting yourself, I don't think that you can tell the gentleman, oh, you wasn't hurt, or you got it in, get up, you know you can do it. I don't think an individual could tell another individual that unless he experienced that particular situation himself.
Mm-hmm. Well, now the club we mentioned earlier, there are two. One is located at the National Center, which is in the Bloomfield School. The other one, the program that you work out of, is in the Gottingen Street area.
Yes.
Is there a reason why the program is located in the Gottingen Street, or are there advantages to having the program located, say, in Gottingen Street as opposed to another area?
Yes. I think the main mecca of amateur boxing is right in the heart of Halifax, right in the heart of the metropolitan area. Mm-hmm. There has been clubs started in Dartmouth, Sackville, and all the surrounding communities in Nova Scotia, but the only boxing club that we had was located in the Bloomfield School. But because of travel and because of different locations of getting to the school was hard for, like, say, kids 10 and 11 years old to get there, because the mothers or fathers were worried about them traveling back and forth. I approached Taylor Gordon, and we had numerous discussions about locating the gym at different locations. He was hoping to put a gym into Fairview, one in Gottingen Street, and another one out in Sackville. He approached me and asked me about doing this with him. Wholeheartedly, I was prepared and ready for it. Mm-hmm. When we first started, we only had one ring and one heavy bag. And for the first month or so, I was a little skeptical, but I seen that the jubilation was there for the kids every day after school. St. Pat's Junior High is located right in back of me. They would be coming right there. Kids from QEH, the high school students, they would be coming down and stopping into the gym. At first, it was a little reluctancy to participate, but as more and more bags been coming into the gym, more stuff, more people started coming to the gym, it caught on quite nice. And most of the boxers that are now fighting or boxing have never fought before, but are starting to get a name for themselves. People like Eugene Anderson, who's only had 7 fights, he's starting to get a great following. A couple of the younger fighters are national champions. We just had them up in Quebec here in August, and also up in Sherbrooke in June for the National Boxing Championships, and came over there with a couple of gold medals and a couple of silver. Mm-hmm. So I think it has caught on quite good. Also, the area where the gym is a new trophy case which brightens the street. I believe that in order to revitalize I heard the government people always talking about revitalizing the street, putting a community park there and putting this, that, and there. I think before you can revitalize an area, I think the people have to be revitalized. And I think it starts with the youth. Mm-hmm. And if the youth cannot be revitalized, cannot revitalize the parents, because they have catering to the kids more or less. And I think that amateur boxing, and especially Citadel boxing, is starting to cater more to the youth and to the kids, because you see, if you're down there on a given afternoon, more kids running into the gym, looking, watching, even young ladies.
Mm-hmm. So there has been some impact from the program. How is this reflected in numbers? Roughly how many steady participants would you have in the club?
On an average, steady, we have about 20 to 25 actually people learning how to box in our boxing. We have about, on total, about 75 people coming and going for workouts. We have the older gentlemen. Mm-hmm. In fact, we were really happy that the exhibition that was supposed to have taken place Tuesday, a lot of the older fighters and a lot of the kids got a chance to see the older fighters working out and training. Cecil Gray, Dave Downey, Keith Paris. It was a a highlight for it. We heard about these gentlemen coming up, and we never had a chance to see them because they were a little before our time. But it was a highlight for them to see them, talk to them, and listen to old stories and about Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Robinson. You know,
Yeah.
it was nice to see that and hear that from the older gentlemen.
Right. So the age group that's involved in your programs, where does it begin and end? Is it?
We started at 10 years old, right up. I myself started the younger kids because there was a lot of kids coming from the St. Pat's Junior High School coming
Yes.
over and just watching
Yes.
and wanting to participate. I felt that because they can't participate actively at 10 years old, or only at 10 years old, they can learn, and by the time they get 10 years old, they will be able to know the basics, fundamentals already. So I start them 8 or 9 if they want to come. I don't push them. I don't push none of the kids to come. A lot of the kids have came and left and come back again. And because of the way the weather is now, and because of the football season, and now a lot of the younger guys that are 13, 14, 15, 16 years old are now playing football. So my gym is not as packed. But recently, I'm a little impressed by the influx of the Navy and Army personnel that we have at State Corner coming down and joining up and wanting to learn how to box. So that's an A+ for us too. So that's nice.
So you have a good cross section of ages then.
Right.
Now, do you have? You were mentioning about the some of the older fighters who've been in tuning up, I guess, for this exhibition match, which hopefully will take place sometime in the near future. Are there many of them that come to the gym on a regular kind of basis?
Yes. If not to participate, working up the South, they come to lend a helping hand. Many times, even Trevor Burbick, Rick Anderson has come many times, numerous times, to help. It's a verbal comment. Just having them there present is, I think, a highlight for the kids, you know?
Yeah. Some of
Something
them
they
are
can
almost
reach
like
for.
living legends to some of
Yes,
these kids, I
exactly.
suspect. Right. Well, now, the youngsters who want to get involved in the program, is there any fee that's involved, or can you just come to the gym and express an interest?
No, the club sponsors the boots, the shorts, and the singlets. All they have to pay for is the registration, which is $13 for children 15 and under, youth 15 and under, sorry, and 17 for 15 and over. That's good for a year. All we supply is a mouthpiece that they bring, and that hand wraps. Everything else, the travel is taken by the government in the club. The shorts and singlets and boots is taken by the club. All they have to do is be there and
Have the desire.
have the desire.
Right. So it's not an expensive,
No.
not an expensive
I
proposition.
think I would call it the cheapest, but it's cheap on one part, but it's dedication on another part, because if they are going to national meets and they are participating in particular events, we ask them to be in shape, because we don't. Well, an amateur boxing is a little different than professional.
Yeah.
I don't really think that a youth can really get hurt in amateur boxing. I'd really be surprised. In my own experience, I've never seen a real severe cut or a real severe knockout that a gentleman never came back from. So,
This is because of the equipment and the care that the officials give.
well, it's a different ruling. Like in amateur ruling, if I am more classy than you as a boxer, they will stop the fight. If they think that you are hurt, the referee or judges think that you are hurt, they will give you an 8 count. This is not done in the professional circle, so I think that it helps you. Sometimes the 8 seconds or that a little stop will help you revive yourself to a great extent. So these are the rules that I think the amateur boxing is implementing into their curriculum, and is helping you become a better boxer and a better person.
It's more of a sport.
Yes, yeah.
You can condition. What about now the female component? Is only your program only for males, or is there a female component?
Recently, we have started in the gym a women's class. We had the opportunity of having a few of the lady instructors from the YMCA come in and do the fitness class, but a lot of the times, a lot of the women have just did their own women's classes. We had about 10 women coming in at one particular particular time before the summer came and the good weather. They didn't want to be stuck inside, so we're waiting now for the renovations to take place, and hopefully the women's classes will be started back up again.
These are only fitness. We don't have any, like the Toronto couple we saw a couple weeks ago, don't have any aspirants to get in the ring in the female section.
No, just the fitness class.
Right. Is there any capacity or any limit to the number of people that you can accommodate at the club that you can work with because of staffing or space restrictions? Or
Well, right now, we're waiting for funding from the federal government. When that comes through, hopefully by the middle of October, we will have three paid coaches back on salary. Right now, I'm back to doing the volunteering, my own services, and my brother is also volunteering his service right now.
Yeah.
So we don't have the coaches as of right now the way we want to that we had prior to August. When the funding takes place and everything comes through the way it's supposed to, hopefully the renovations be done, the coaching will be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you will see a bigger and better club.
Right. Well, now, what number of youngsters can a coach work with? Is there any limit that you get beyond a certain point? Is it too many to be able to handle, or what's an ideal number to work with?
Four. Four is an ideal.
Yeah.
But we have broken the age groups, the number of people that we work with into sections.
Mm-hmm.
Like primarily, if the young youth wants to come in, like say we open at 1 o'clock, there will be guys that do not go to school come in and work out. The younger generation that comes in after school, they work out to a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
If we still have an X number of gentlemen still coming over who cannot come because of work, we open up at nighttime and they work out.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's the same thing as in the morning when we run.
Mm-hmm.
If we know that there are youth going to school and it's hard on them, we will have a 12 o'clock run instead of a 7 o'clock run maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to break it down as much as possible. And we were lucky to thus far to have X number of coaches ready for the X number of fighters. But with the new renovations coming in, I'm kind of skeptical about having enough coaches going around.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the older generation comes in, like I was mentioning before, like the older fighters come in and helping out,
Mm-hmm.
Verbally or showing techniques, everything.
Right. You mentioned several times about renovations. Are you expanding your facilities or just refurbishing them, or what's involved?
Refining them.
Yeah.
To a great extent, not expanding. Upstairs in the old Misty Moon on Gottingen Street here,
Yes.
we're hoping to put up 10 new heavy bags. We have 2 rings in there right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 bags in there right now, but we're supposed to renovate the bathrooms, the shower facilities, the floor, put new bags up, new gear in general. Just to change it around a little bit to help out.
Right.
The problem is that we are having fighters coming in from town from Quebec, Ontario, and we have about 1,000 people coming there, but there's not enough seating capacity to control the way you're supposed to be able to control because of fire access and everything else. So therefore, we know now that we have the generation coming together, old, young, and in between, and we know now that we got to compensate for the capacity crowd.
Right. Well, tell us something about that program. I understand. I haven't yet had a chance to get over to any of the cards, but I understand that you have some fantastic cards that take place. How often do you have them, and tell me about the success you're having with them.
Every month we were running a card, and we were quite surprised at first that it caught on the way it did. I can remember the first card that we had, there was about 400 people, and that was good to me in the amateur circles to have 400 people there, because there were some fight cards in professional ranks that wasn't even getting 400.
Yeah.
After that first card, there was fighters who were just starting 1 or 2 fights that was looking a little impressive. The crowd started coming more and more, and there was more people starting to participate. Even the ladies that were coming in and asked us, can we help in small ways, canteen facilities, or doing this or doing that. And it's caught on. The community is back to 100%. In fact, our last card we had 2 individuals from the Nova Scotia area. Was a capacity crowd. One crowd was on one hand, the other crowd went on the other side, and they were saying, come on, come on, come on. and it was good. It was our gentleman from downtown area lost, but it was good for the crowd. It was good for the fighters. It was good for the boxing in general. So we now know that it has caught on. We were in Quebec in August. We took a team up right from the Citadel Boxing Club, and we split down the middle with the Quebec boxers, and they asked for us to come back again. So, we know that we are ambassadors when we go and leave the provinces. But it's caught on. I'm really happy. I see bigger and better things happening for the area, for the boxing, and for the people in general.
Right. Well, I guess you've had some very high caliber fighters that have come from the Citadel Club. Like the young Gordon, I understand, is a member of the club, is he not?
Yes.
And he'll be hopeful for the upcoming Olympics?
Yes, I think that Wayne Gordon would be a sure bet from the Atlantic provinces to be on the Canadian team. He just recently was at the Pan Am Games. Last week he was at the North American Championships. Today he's leaving to go to the East Germany for the Berlin Games. So that's A+. This is all experience for him too that he will need in the Olympic Games.
Right. Are there any others that you think might make it for 84? I understand that there's a young Downey fellow, I'm not sure if he's related to you or not, who looks like an excellent potential for 88.
Yes. There's a few, in fact. There are coming up through the ranks that I believe. He's a national champion right now, but I believe
This is young Downey, is
this
it?
is young Raymond Downey.
Yeah.
That he will be. He just fought the Hilton. It was a big climax there too. The fighting Hilton's fighting one of the Downeys, and there was a big draw in Quebec. We fought him twice in Quebec, and all the Hiltons, the sons, the father, the grandfather, the grandmother, they were all there. That was a big climax there in Quebec to beat him in Quebec, and also to beat him in Nova Scotia. So we believe that he's on the verge of becoming the next champion to follow in the steps of Ricky Anderson, Wayne Gordon.
Yeah. How old is Raymond?
Raymond right now he's 15 years old.
I see. Now, which part of the Downey family? Which is he? Is his father one of the fighters?
His father's Dave Downey.
Oh, this is Dave's son.
Yeah.
Of course, our viewers will know Dave is the former Canadian middleweight champion.
Right.
Yeah. So they're still continuing on. The Downey family, of course, is almost synonymous with boxing here, as people in the Halifax area know. How about the support of the program from government and other officials? Are you getting good support, good financial support to enable you to keep the program going?
When we first started this club, our went to the community development program, and we were sponsored for the first 6 months by the community development program. We are now hopefully trying to get the government to back us, the federal government to back us again on a bigger, larger scale, with the club providing some funds too. And if that comes through, I think that will be no problem of continuing the existence of the Citadel Amateur Boxing Club on the Gottingen Street.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, over and above the youngsters who've demonstrated some considerable skill in the ring, are there any individuals that stick out in your mind over the past 4 years, youngsters who've come into the program who, as a result of their involvement, have had their life sort of turned around, who as a result of their involvement in the program have, it's really made a difference, in your opinion? Anybody who sticks out in mind? Not necessarily by name, but I mean...
There's a few. We have had, he's been a basketball star for the high schools and for the university at one time. He's now playing football. He has started boxing and has had 2 wins over the Upper Canadians. Sean Parker, Eugene Anderson, gentleman that I had a verbal argument with him at one time. He come into the gym and he started working out, and then he quit. And I told him that he'll be back, and he told me I got pains in my head, and I'm not coming back. And he has been my biggest fish that I caught. He started a little late, but he has come on. He has had a fight with a gentleman that had 50 fights, and they fought almost to a standstill. Young Billy Downey, he has shown a lot of aggression at first towards the boxing in school, but I think he is starting to mature and develop himself. My own brother, my younger brother, Sean, I have a little guy there who was Corey Flint. Um, I can go on.
I guess there's been quite a number of
Yes.
them. Well, now, you were mentioning earlier that there's quite a considerable difference between amateur boxing and professional boxing. You've had an opportunity to participate in both. Looking back at your experience, what are your views now about professional boxing? We hear these days a lot of criticism. We see deaths and so on in the ring and that kind of thing. What are your views about professional boxing? Would you encourage many of your youngsters to go on?
Yes, I feel that if a gentleman or a young man wants to participate in amateur boxing at a competitive level, yes. But if he has aspirations of going on, I think he should dedicate himself to try to live, to work, to sleep, to eat, and to know everything he can about the boxing in general. One of my closest friends, who is just turned professional in the last 2 years, Ricky Anderson, that's a gentleman that I think that they should try to patent themselves after, because he's one individual that eats, sleeps, eats, boxes. Every time I talk to him, he's trying to prepare himself ready for boxing. He has had a lot of downfalls right now, but I think he's starting to climb over that. And I think that a lot of the individuals tries to patent themselves after that individual, and I think that's good, because Ricky is a clean living young man and is trying to encourage a lot of the youth to continue. If you just want to do it on a competitive level, then do it on a competitive level, but do it seriously. I don't think that this is a game that you can take 1 minute and then drop it and then try to come back. I think you got to stick at it. It's an art.
It requires a lot of devotion.
Yes.
What about the rules? Can you, from your vantage point now as an amateur coach, can you see where any of the precautions that are taken in the amateur game could be integrated into professional sport?
Yes.
Or are they two different bags?
Yes.
What would you like to see? What aspect?
One aspect I would like to see, if an individual is hurt, or if they think that he is hurt, meaning the referee, to stop the fight, give him an 8 count.
Mandatory 8 count.
A mandatory 8 count. Or if the individual is hurt and he gets up and he wants to continue, it's the discretion of the referee to use more discretion in stopping the fight. I think an evidence was with the Chris Clark, Clyde Ray fight 4 years ago, or the Chris Clark or Ralph Holler fight. A lot of people said, oh, they stopped it too soon. A lot of people said they let it go on to. I think the discretion of the referee. That means that they should upgrade the referees to a point where they're knowing when and how to stop a fight. I think there's too many people that come off the street and wanted to be a referee, and after 1 or 2 preliminary matches, they're into the
Big time, yeah.
big time. And I don't think that's right. I think that you have 3 lives that strike in that ring there. I have seen a referee get knocked out in the amateur circle, so there are 3 gentlemen in that ring that are lives are at stake, not just the 2 boxers. And I believe that if an individual is hurt, if the referee is competent, then he should be able to know when and how and why to stop a fight.
Well, Don, I have to stop at that point because we've exhausted our time for today. I want to thank you for coming on. I want to wish you all the best in your career as a coach. I hope you do well in your program over the next couple of years. All the best to you and the youngsters involved in your program. I want to thank you for watching, and come back next week, won't you? Hello, welcome to another Black Horizons program. I'm your host, Hamid Rasheed. I want to thank you for taking time out to be with us. Today I have a very special guest here with me, a very dear friend who I haven't seen in some time, in the person of Dr. Fred Hodges of St. John, New Brunswick, one of only 3 living blacks in Canada to have received the Order of Canada. In today's program, we'll talk to Dr. Hodges about growing up as a black person in the city of St. John, New Brunswick. We'll discuss his involvement in the labor movement and municipal politics, and discuss race relations in the city of St. John, New Brunswick. Dr. Hodges, Brother Fred, welcome to the Black Horizons program.
Thank you. Brother Fred is a better name.
I'd like to begin, Fred, with some discussion of the Hodges family and your...
Oh, you're talking about on my father's side?
On your father's side.
Yeah, well, they came from New York City in 1783 and given a little piece of land outside a place called Bloomfield, which is about 20 miles from St. John. There were 2 of them. And one apparently died because one my father talked about, his name was Fortune. He ended up with the land grant, 200 acres. See, blacks weren't given the same amount of land there as you're quite aware of. Mm-hmm. So 200 means 100 apiece, and
yes,
the survivor took the whole share. The rest of the family, best of my knowledge, see, they came from New York City. They were freed. They stayed in the United States, and from the way I've been told, there's still some around in the United States as far west as Detroit.
Mm-hmm. So then your family would have come as part of the Loyalist movement.
I never considered part of the Loyalists. You know, the Loyalists to me were the losers.
Yes.
And some of the black people didn't fight for the losers. They fought for the winners.
Right.
And when George Washington double-crossed them, and the British said, "Okay, you come with us to Canada and be free." Of course, you know as well as I do that the British spoke with a wee bit of a forked tongue because they sent some of the bonds back as slaves in Canada. So, but not mine. I mean, we were very fortunate. They were thrown out in a neck of the woods. It was fairly arable, mm-hmm. but they weren't farmers. Mm-hmm. And they headed for the city of St. John, and eventually my grandfather bought a house 125 years ago in a lily white neighborhood, West St. John, which at that time had quite a few black people in it. And that's where my father grew up, and that's where I grew up, going to Lily White School and Lily White Church and all that crap.
In fact, the house that you live in today, I understand,
it's still the same house, yeah. We still live there.
Right. Now, just so I can get it straight then, your ancestors who had come to Canada, then this would have been your great-great-grandfather?
Father of that, that's about five time removed.
Five generations of Hodges in the city of St. John, New Brunswick.
Well, in New Brunswick.
In New Brunswick.
In New Brunswick.
Right. Now, what about the land that went to the 2 brothers? Is that still in the family?
No. They gave it away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, tell me.
They were rich kids, you know. Fortune signed his name with an X.
Yes, right. Well, tell me a bit about life, your beginnings in the city of St. John, what it was like.
Well, I should say that my mother was born in Nova Scotia. And,
that's right.
So,
in fact, I think your mother was from very near my hometown.
That's right, Wolfville, Nova Scotia. And, I've been in Nova Scotia for the last, since 1936, keep coming back and forth. Yeah, well, being born over there is like Martin Luther King used to say, things will change when little white boys and little white girls will go hand in hand in school. Well, I went 60 years ago with little white boys and little white girls, and nothing changed. And I was the only black kid in my room, 1 to 9. I never realized that the difference competing with a white kid and beating them at their own game was nothing else but a game to me. There was no problems. Mm-hmm. As far as the problems was maintaining my dignity, yes, I wouldn't let them walk on me for doing that, even though I was a little fella. Mm-hmm. This is what my grandmother insisted that we were as good as anybody else, and all we had to do was get out there and run with them and beat them. And as she always said, beat them at their own game.
Right. Well, now, what were conditions like in those days, in your childhood, for the black community in St. John generally? Was the community larger than it is now?
Oh, yeah,
or-
it was larger. The west side was larger. See, those days you didn't travel very far. We lived in the west side for about 17 years, and I didn't know what was going on the other side of the harbor until I went to high school.
Now, for
And
those
then-
people who are not familiar with St. John, on the west side then would be quite a bit removed from the
Center.
From center.
Hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but on the west side you would be living in a neighborhood that was predominantly white, and the majority of blacks would be living in the center. Is that
Yeah, well, Union Alley and
Yes.
South End and spread all over because
Yes.
they don't live in any large group except Sparkle Road and Union Alley.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. They had a black church over there, which we used to go on special occasions.
Yes.
My father always took us over there when they had a garden party in the summertime, July the 1st.
Right.
I remember that. And we used to go once in a while to go see the black boys play ball, St. John College Royals. That was phenomenal. But I never was able to see them in their height and their glory. See? St. John was no different than any other place, except that we got rid of our open racism quicker. We had two segregated schools in St. John. My aunt, my oldest aunt, went to it. I think she said, my father said they cost her 7 cents. It cost them 7 cents a day. But the reason why they got rid of it was economics, not from humanitarianism. The other one burnt down, and the church was the school became the St. Philip's Church.
So then, because of your competitive nature and the wisdom that was instilled in you by your parents, you were able to compete on an equal basis with your peers?
I never wanted to like to compete. All I did was run with them and beat them. I wasn't competing with them. It was no problem. Perhaps it was a little harder. I would have considered it a competition.
Right.
It wasn't a competition.
Right. Well, I understand that you're also a veteran.
Oh, yeah.
Viewers of this program will recall we discussed about the number 2 construction battalion here in Nova Scotia and some of the difficulties that the black members of the black community here experienced in terms of getting involved in the war movement. What was the situation like for blacks in St. John?
Same. The first part of the war, they picked and chose until Dunkirk took occurred. Then they grabbed everything. I think the St. John, as far as Royal Canadian Air Force was concerned, had more from St. John any place. We had about seven of us got in the Air Force. None of them got in the Navy.
So the Air Force was a much more receptive element than the Army or
Well,
the
we had
Navy element.
We
say.
had pull.
Yes, I see. What do you mean when you say you had pull now?
Well, there was a minister who got the first group in, and then the last two, which I was the last, one of the last ones to get into it, was no problem. It was just a matter of going down and see. It was 3 recruiting centers on a certain street, Germain Street.
Yes.
So I just dropped in the first one on my way,
Yes.
and that's as far as I got.
Right.
For Air Force.
Right. So there was some difficulty then for you say you got in because you had pull.
Well,
some of the others got in.
yeah.
Generally then the blacks could not just go down and enlist.
I don't see any sense because any different because there was no promotion for us. I didn't become anything more than an LAC in the Air Force.
Yes.
I couldn't become a corporal. They wouldn't make me a corporal.
Right. Did I understand though that some of the blacks who went in, I don't know from St. John or was from St. John or Fredericton, wasn't there one or two of them who became pilots?
One from St. John became a navigator.
But not a pilot.
Not that I know of when the war was on.
Right.
Maybe after the war.
Right.
Yeah.
Well-
After the war, Bubble Peters became a pilot. Yes.
Yes. What kinds of experiences did you have as part of the war movement once you got in?
They I had like a pet to them. They left me alone. You know. I stood out like a blueberry in a quarter mile.
Of course, this was the Second World War we're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
now, right? You were overseas, of course.
No.
No?
No. They had a policy about that.
I see.
Stay in Canada. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to turn now to some discussion of your involvement in the labor movement. I know that you've been involved for years now.
Oh, yeah.
Since you were a very young man. Tell
Well,
us
not
something
a very young man. I was 30 when I started. I was 10 years as president of the Labor Council and 5 years VP for the Federation of Labor.
Well, now, what drew you into the labor movement? Was it a particular...
boss.
Your boss.
That's what the boss drove us in. All of us in. My boss. He and I we had a great big fight, and we had to know what the union contract was.
Mm-hmm.
And we told him on the union contract that we had seniority and we wanted a fell or else we take it over his head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we get involved. At least how I got involved.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, where were you working in those days?
On the dock.
In St. John,
Yeah,
on the
CPR.
waterfront, right?
Mm.
Right. And so there was some dispute come out, and as a result of
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you became more involved in...
Well, so I went that way, and then the union needed people on the committee, and I went on the committee and kept growing from there.
Right. Well, now in Halifax, there's been problems for years in terms of blacks getting into the union here. A number of them have worked on the waterfront. I think there's only been maybe one, if there's been one member ever in the union here. But there was.
Oh, you're talking about the ILA though. Well,
Right, the Longshoremen's Union.
Yeah, well, up there is no difference. There's not too many had got in the ILA there. They had the coal handlers union. They were blacks in that. They had a couple in the ILA in my time, but as far as the checkers, and I never saw any that had a
Is there a
ticket.
reason for that? Is racism a factor in that, or was it just that blacks didn't go for that particular union?
Well, maybe a combination of both.
Mhm.
Oh, they have they have their own picks, and they don't pick certain whites either.
Mm-hmm. It's a very close shop.
Oh, like
Right.
like very close. Yeah,
Right.
you can't beat it.
Well, what about in the union that you're a member of? Were there many blacks in that particular union?
At
or were you-
that time when the right after the war, yeah, quite a few.
Mhm. What's
There,
the current
there's just
situation?
the same thing. Yeah, as French, I can say the French weren't too thick either.
Yes.
But now the French controls it.
Right. What about blacks now?
They're gone.
They're gone. There are no
The only
blacks?
only one left. One now.
I see. Well, now, are there any particular issues apart from the issue that got you involved in the union movement in the first instance that stand out in your mind? Things that have happened in your union experience that you could perhaps that you could.
Oh,
relate to us?
I served on committees and things like the Labor Relation Board. I like that.
Mhm.
And, I've been on arbitrations and conciliation. Not too keen about them, but they're part of the situation. 10 years as president of the Labor Council is.
Yes.
I suppose I could have stayed a few more years, but I didn't think I should stay any longer.
You were also on the Port Authority, I understand.
Yeah,
St.
on
John
the
Port
yeah, for 20 years that thing.
Hmm. You've retired from that now.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, got away from that.
Is there any big incident or any big strike that took place during your years in the
Oh
union
yeah, well,
movement that stand out?
the first longshoreman strike they had in St. John, and since the union, the longshoremen became a union, but pretty near 100 years. It was standout. We settled it though. Got to
Right.
settle.
Tell me something about that incident.
Oh no, it's just a matter. It was a change in method of which the employer was handled this, and he brought in outsiders to do his negotiating with, and the union didn't like that.
So, what year would that have been, roughly?
10 years, maybe a little better.
Oh, as recently as 10 years ago?
Oh yes,
Was it a long, protracted strike?
maybe a month, a little better, but it was no end.
Did
At
you
one
win?
time,
Did you win?
you don't win strikes.
Did you get success on that particular
They
issue?
they got their what? It wasn't money.
Yes.
It wasn't money.
Yes.
It was what they considered to be
Parties to the
a fight.
negotiation?
A fight. Oh yeah, they get along very well now.
Yeah. No, but I mean, this issue it had to do with, as I understand, it
Yeah,
had to
they,
do with
they,
the
they
parties.
don't mind now how the same people are negotiating for them.
I see.
Oh yeah,
I see.
so they have no problems there
Right.
now. It was just a new thing, and they didn't like it the way it was done.
Right. Well, now, not only have you been involved in the union movement, but you've also been involved. I think you were the first black, as I understand it, to serve on the city council in St. John.
The only black to serve on the city council.
First and only.
First and only.
There was none before, and there's been none after. I
No.
guess. Right. How did you get involved in municipal politics? Did this grow out of? Was this a logical extension of your work in the union?
No.
or-
The Labor Council used to run delegates to be their official representative.
Yes.
Sometimes they win, sometimes they lost. They were a group of people who decided that I should run. I got tired of them here, them nagging me to run. So I figured if I ran and lost, they would leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I ran and won.
Mm-hmm. How many years did you serve on?
Just
the
one term.
One term.
Oh yes, the powers that be didn't like that.
Well, now, what is your recollection of that? When was that, and what was your recollection of the experience? Did you
73.
enjoy it? Was it what you expected?
Being a politician is a matter of compromising.
Yes.
And I don't believe in compromise. It's too much. It's a very demanding, if you want to make it demanding. My doctor was glad I got defeated.
Yes. Right. Very tense, time-consuming kind of thing.
He thought I was killing me.
Right. How many years? When was that you served your term on council?
I think it was 73, 74, and 75, or 74, 75, 76.
So you don't think you're cut out to be a political animal? You wouldn't consider running in
No.
Politics again?
No.
No. Well, you are a politician and of another kind, though. You were quite involved and have been quite involved for many, many years in the New Brunswick Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I think
Well, I never
got the whole
considered
thing in it.
that. I
Tell
never
us-
considered that as
Tell us
politics.
well, that's a political political group in a sense. How did you get involved in the NBAACP? And how many years have you been involved in it?
It was done at the same time as the big rush was on in the United States. The same what you did in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
We were down here. Joe Drummond and I were down here and saw Dr. Oliver
Yes.
and started. By the way, Billy's my cousin.
Right. That
And
takes us back through your wife's family again.
Yeah,
You mentioned
wife's
from Wolf,
family,
She
yeah.
would have been an Oliver, of course. Right.
Yeah, I may as well say I have another cousin who was a minister too. Donald Thomas up in New Glasgow.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah. So we decided that we would form some sort of an organization on the same vein in New Brunswick,
Now,
but
I think
not,
the New Brunswick,
not like the Americans. All.
the Nova Scotia Association, if I understand it correctly, got its beginning in the 30s, I believe.
Well, originally I think they said they had one in New Brunswick in the 30s too, but that was a little before my time.
Right. So then the New Brunswick, the recent version of the New Brunswick Association began what, around the 40s, 50s?
About a couple of years after Nova Scotia.
I see. We're in the early 40s. Are there things about your work in the NBAACP that come to mind? Highlights, disappointments, issues? What kinds of issues did you
They're
get?
all disappointment when you don't accomplish what you think you should be. The egalitarianism of man.
Yes.
We haven't gone anywhere near that. You know,
Right.
the hatred still evolves, particularly in the mass media. You know, this last episode of this plane crash, the orchestration of hatred.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can they expect people to get along with one another if they're taught to hate?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, now, what were some of the issues that come to mind that the NBACP attempted to address in St. John? I
Well,
know
the
you-
education thing
Yes.
changed the curriculum. Now I understand the curriculum will be changed and be taught. Black's history will be taught, but we never got our recognitions on our ability to handle things. You know, I watch them play ball. 1933, when blacks weren't allowed to play ball.
Mhm.
I know Hank Aaron said it right.
Yeah.
All I ask is a chance. All we ask is a chance.
Mhm.
You'd
Well,
be
now-
surprised what we could do.
How strong was the NBACP in membership-wise then and now? Is it
Never was if you had 5% of the population, it was doing good. Most of the time, it was 1.
Yes. So the current you're still active though. I know in this province, for example, the Nova Scotia Association Advancement of Colored People is very, very low key. Doesn't have much of a presence at all. But you still have maintained a presence in New Brunswick.
But we're low key too. You get old people got to get low key.
I see.
And when, you have to leave and get young people. Like we were young at that time, so it's now time for a new group of young people.
Well, I want to turn in the remaining minutes of today's program and spend some time discussing with you the recent report that was released, I believe, in May of this year, having to do with the analysis of the situation with respect to race relations in St. John that was done by Professor Darisma, I believe it is. Darisma, who's with the Department of Sociology at the University of Moncton.
Yeah, he was.
This, of course, was one of several studies that was done across Canada to measure.
One for each province, wasn't it?
Right, one, I think, for each province, measuring the situation with race relations in St. John. You've read the report, of course. What do you think about the report? Is it well done? Does it more or less capture the problems in St. John, or how well did the professor
Well,
do?
when it comes to well done, the only time it'd be well done was I wrote it myself. But, you know, if you don't like it, that's the only thing you can do. But there were things in there that rather amused me because it was a composition. It was not one person's idea. He picked a lot of people's brains and put it down on paper. And as he saw it, one part there, he says that certain people, blacks, don't trust whites, and he doesn't think that's right. I'm afraid I gave him that impression when I talked to him. But trust is a two-way street.
Well, would you say that the report does justice to the situation, that it does a good job of describing?
I don't think he's too far out.
You think he did a fairly good job? Well, turning to
enough to get by on anyway.
Enough to get by on. I see. So then perhaps maybe it's not as comprehensive as you would have liked.
Not comprehensive, no.
No. Looking at some of the recommendations that were contained in the report, he made some recommendations, general recommendations, some recommendations that were directed towards government, and then some that were directed towards the black community itself. He talked a bit about the need for more black teachers to be hired and promoted within the school system in St. John. Are there any teachers in the school system in St. John?
To my knowledge, there isn't any left. We did have one or two. I think one went on a sabbatical. I don't know if there's any at the present time. Best of my knowledge, there's never been a black principal in the school system. Not my time, or now, or when my kids went to school.
Right. He also, in a similar kind of vein, points to the need for government to stop treating blacks, to use his word, as second-class citizens, and to take appropriate action to integrate them into municipal services. Are there blacks, for example, who are in the police force and the fire department? And
not in the fire department, police force.
How many blacks would you have on the police force? I think
somebody said they said up as much as 6, but I think they're down to about 2.
2. I think one of those is a young lady from Nova Scotia.
She quit.
She quit.
Yeah, I didn't know she had gone. She told me a couple weeks ago she had left.
I see. So there may be 2 on the.
Maybe 2, yeah.
Right. What about in other municipal services? Do you see them working at City Hall, for example?
Yes, but they're not in position of authority.
But even in terms of numbers, are there? They're not very many, are they?
No.
Right.
They're noticeable.
Right. He talks about the need for the government agencies as well as private agencies. He encourages them to get involved with affirmative action in their hiring practices. Is there any affirmative action in the city of St. John now?
Limited, very limited, as far as I know.
So do you think that this would be something that is supportable, affirmative action?
Certainly. See, our educational system a little bit different up there. As I said, we've got away with segregated schools, so every kid comes to the school system with the same teachers. So they should be capable of performing the same as the white kid for these jobs. But there is a snob system in St. John, which whites don't get jobs.
Is it very parochial?
Oh,
where you have to know somebody? You have to know?
Yes. Yeah.
I see. Well, now, if we don't have blacks represented in that greater numbers in government agencies, we didn't really talk about the situation with private employers, but I suspect it must be the same.
They're the same.
What do blacks do for a livelihood? Do they leave St. John?
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's a stopover place. Oh, yeah. The population has gone down 2/3 of what it was. We just maintain about a little better than 1,000.
Yeah. So then would St. John's population be characterized by the very young and the very old, the middle people, all the people who are normally the income earners have left?
Majority.
Toronto,
majority.
Halifax, I suppose.
Yeah, that's where you meet them.
Yeah, right. Another area touched on in the report was this whole area of media. Now, I know this is one of your pet concerns. I know your relationship is on again, off again with the media. What is your view about the way the media deals with the black community in St. John?
Well, it's the way it deals with it in whole across Canada, hypocrisy. Talks about it, says he'll do things, and yet preaches the opposite.
Can you think of an example? Can you tell us about maybe one of the most recent run-ins that you've had with the media about their coverage of an incident, perhaps?
They don't cover. You know, it was amazing that Harold Washington was covered, but it wasn't covered. That wasn't good. Wasn't for the American TV. Should we get down there, we wouldn't know what the whole issue was. You know.
So the media then it doesn't give coverage. The coverage doesn't give. Is it like in other areas where it tends to perhaps sensationalize the situation and looks for negative things to happen before it gives coverage?
It still does that. Yeah, we condemn it, but.
Well, there were also recommendations in the report which were directed at the black community. What was your view of those recommendations? For example, he recommended that the black community in New Brunswick should be encouraged to create a black united front in order to be more effective in fighting prejudice and so on.
We've tried that different times. You know, we've been down here when it first started. When your predecessor was there, I talked to him, but we just don't seem to get it. Perhaps St. John, because of the nature of individualism, is more pronounced up there than it is down here. They were used to being looking after their own self, you know.
And this has had an adverse effect on efforts to sort of...
The second problem is the people that come in, immigrants we have lately. They come from different places in the world, and they look at the situation a little different because they've been naively told that everything's open for them. When they get there and they find out that everything's closed to them. The invisible signs up there, you know, still up there. Blacks not wanted, not allowed. Jobs are only for whites only.
Well, you would think that this might encourage them to...
They leave.
They leave. I see.
They leave.
I see. Well, would you say that the black community is strong and capable of advocating the needs of the black community?
Everyone has their own need, and if it's met, they don't care. You know, the ones that want sports, they can go get sports. Now they can play golf on any place, tennis anywhere. When I was a kid, you couldn't play tennis. Now they can do those things. They have a little problem up there is getting in the taverns. Still, that's what the only hang up. But as far as getting jobs. There's no the doctors all came in. There hasn't been a black lawyer trained in Fredericton. I don't know if they've been trained in Halifax either. Yes, a couple.
We have a couple, yes.
But we have none. You know, those things have a couple teachers, but they all leave. Even my own brother left and came down here to teach.
All right. Well, this lack of what you might call a professional or leadership corps, do you think this has had an adverse impact on the community's capacity or ability to be able to get together and to organize?
Yeah, it has. There's all kinds of leaders there, you know, all kinds of abilities, but they can make it on their own.
I see. So the individualism is sort of mitigating against looking at the larger concerns of the black community as a group.
Yeah.
What is your view?
See, we don't have no church. When the church went, I think and I was not a member of the church, but I recognized for what it stood for.
And the loss of the church, the community hasn't been able to recover from that.
No, it's just like the Lions out in Preston have a place of their own. You must have a place of your own.
Well, in the closing seconds of today's program, do you think that perhaps the momentum that may have come out of the report, this current report, might have some positive impact on the condition of the black community there, or what is your prognosis for the future?
I guess I've got to have the eternal hope. I hope so.
You hope so?
Yeah. After all, Hamid, I'm over the hill. I'm on the second go round. 65. You don't have that much more time. All you have is hopes. Hope that you'll get a Messiah.
Well, Fred, Dr. Hodges, I want to thank you for coming on today's program. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching and invite you back next week.
Okay.
Half hour goes very